Donald Trump's campaign gearing up for strategic attacks against Hillary Clinton now in a possible general election matchup. Anything could be fair game, from Clinton's use of private email while Secretary of State to her husband's past infidelities. With me now, Alex Conant, Marco Rubio's former communications director and now a communications consultant. Great to have you back on The Real Story. So there's this big article laying this out, and I don't think it's really big news to anyone. We know that Donald Trump is going to go hard against Hillary Clinton.
That's how he does it. Yeah.
I mean, and he did it he did it right away before the end of the year, and in fact got Bill Clinton to respond saying, I'm not even going to talk about Donald Trump unless he's the nominee. Well, guess what? Now it looks like he is. So will these negative, hard attacks work?
I'm skeptical that they're going to work. Everybody knows that Hillary Clinton is one of the most unfavorable or least liked politicians in America. And she's been very unliked for a long time. It's a big part of why she didn't win the nomination in 2008. I don't think going back and relitigating things that happened 2 years ago is the best strategy moving forward. I think Donald Trump, he is shifting from a phase of the campaign where people see him as a celebrity, see him as a businessman, and now they're looking at him as a potential president. And he needs to fill in that picture a little bit, talking more about what he would do if he was president of the United States.
Yeah, but I'm not clear on whether or not you think his attacks on Hillary will work, because the thing is, Donald Trump says stuff that nobody else will.
He does, but it's stuff that people already know, right? I mean, that's why Hillary Clinton's unfavorable ratings are already so high.
I don't know if the young people know that, though. I don't know if the young people, especially women, I don't know if they know that.
Well, he's trying to drive up her unfavorable ratings even higher, right? Because his personal ratings are so unfavorable. Look, we've never had a general election with two candidates that are as unliked by as many American people. So these contests are often a referendum on who would you rather have a beer with on election night. I think there's going to be a lot of voters drinking alone on election night because voters don't want to have a beer with either one of these candidates. His challenge is he needs to raise his own favorable ratings in order to keep this election close. And I don't think you do that by simply attacking Hillary Clinton. Now, obviously, that's part of the strategy, but he also needs to talk about what he would do if he was president.
I agree with you, and I like your positive take on this. I'm just wondering if the negatives on them both kind of just cancel each other out, but I guess we will see. Let's move on to this, because the guy you used to work for, Marco Rubio, he was funny last night. He went on Twitter after a Washington Post article raised questions about his political future. The article saying this, quote, Rubio, according to conversations I've had with people close to him, is sort of betwixt and between when it comes to his next move. Well, then, Rubio responding with a series of tweets posting, a longtime friend, in quotations, says Rubio is betwixt and between when it comes to whether to do chest or legs tomorrow at the gym. And according to source who knows his cousin's wife's dentist, Rubio could do cardio instead. And then there was this. As for future in politics, well, it's nearly impossible for someone not in office to ever become a successful candidate for president, right? We know who he's talking about there. But what does this say about the perception and the frustration for candidates or people in the public eye when junk's written about them that may or may not be true?
Yeah, well, it's obviously very frustrating. Look, I worked for Marco Rubio for 5 years, and one of the things that struck me was not only his great sense of humor, which everyone saw on Twitter last night, but how disciplined his team is around him. There were very few leaks out of Marco Rubio's campaign or out of his team. And so reporters, struggling with that, sometimes find people who pretend that they're friends or say that they're friends. And we had these unnamed sources that were wrong. Like the tweets last night were like the report yesterday, which is wrong. And that was very frustrating. I think it's a reflection on the state of the media. There's so much pressure on reporters right now to report things. And so the sourcing isn't always as deep as it should be.
Yeah, and the whole idea of the media world has changed so dramatically with social media and everything else in the last decade. I mean, I remember, back in the days, you had to get two sources for stuff, right? We still do that here, but most people don't.
I'm sure he didn't. Yeah, and they don't always even call the campaign. I mean, during the campaign, we had another network went on air and reported something without even checking with the campaign. I guarantee you the reporter yesterday didn't check with Marco Rubio's office before he reported that.
I remember that story well. I think you were on the show that day or the next. Alex Conant, great to have you back on The Real Story. Thank you.
Thanks, Gretchen.